is the grand finale, the Amscar series at AMAROO Park in Sydney.
Well, Callaghan got away to a good start. Longhurst bobbled at the start and got, I think, maybe a tap in the tail from GIBBS. Colin Bond, is it, that's had problems getting off the line, or was it... no, it wasn't Colin. I think it might have been his teammate, Ken Matthews. However, they dropped down into Dunlop for the first time. 15 laps. The distance of the Amscar finale this afternoon, and Tony Longhurst will lead from bustling Brian Callaghan. Mark GIBBS is the next one further back. Good start from the BMW up to, I think, probably about 4th. There was some juggling going on back in the pack. Bond may have missed out just a tad when the field all closed up, because he needed a brilliant start, starting at the back of the field to try and get through the pack. 32 going through one of the Toyota Corollas.
And John Connor there in 52, the BMW M3.
They really have thrown all the cards up and they've sprinkled all over the place. Let's see how Kenny Matthews is doing.
Brian Callaghan pursues Tony Longhurst over the top of the hill, 1 lap down. 14 to go.
There's Bondi in our CALTEX Sierra carrying Gillux Autocolor race cam. As we mentioned before, coming through the field today. Yet to deal with a couple of cars, including Lyndon Reithmuller. There's not much he can do about this. He sort of hemmed in. There's Bondi.
John Faulkner having a stab at him in the Corolla.
Oh, what a feeling.
And that Commodore of Lyndon Reithmuller about 20 feet wide, but Bond gets under him coming into the corner.
Now he has to deal with the BMW. Now he'll get a square shot here on the run up to Toledo corner. And that should drop him up to 4th place. Now he's got quite a haul. The laps are on his side to try and see if he can rope in the 2 Commodores. Bondi with some problems in the earlier heat. Didn't finish. Wound up in the pits. There's our race leader, Tony Longhurst. And he's a young man that's got a smile from ear to ear today. They've claimed that they have the car perfectly balanced for the first time this season. It couldn't come at a better time with the Tooheys 1000 at Bathurst on October 1st.
Well, that's the big one, isn't it, for Longhurst to defend?
As he said earlier to us, Dick can have a few more touring car championships. He'd just like a couple more Bathursts. So Callaghan continues on. Certainly been a stalwart for Holden this year, Callaghan.
Mark GIBBS still in 3rd spot, and Colin Bond is closing rapidly.
Just back to Brian for a second. Mobile Concrete Pumping Services, the sponsor of the car, but Brian owns the company, so he's virtually sponsoring himself. His young son, Brian Jr., also supplied with a car for the Amscar series by Dad. And whilst it's great to hear that Holden Special Vehicles will be at Mount Panorama, it's also been great to see guys like Brian Callaghan carry their banner for the rest of the season when they have the rollers down.
It's remarkable how well he can handle Holden around this tight circuit at AMAROO. Callaghan staying very much in touch with the race leader, series leader, Tony Longhurst.
Once again, that time of the day at AMAROO Park where the guys head up Bitchapave Hill. Let's recap them for you at the moment on the CALTEX race score. Tony Longhurst leads from Brian Callaghan. Mark GIBBS to 3rd. Colin Bond coming up in the CALTEX Sierra to 4th. Trevor Ashby is 5th. We'll be back in just a tick.
Tony Longhurst, Brian Callaghan tied together with a bit of string. Still going at it nose to tail. 1-2. Final round of the Amscar series at AMAROO Park. Colin Bond has got past Mark GIBBS, now holds down 3rd place.
Bond's effort has been tremendous. Started off the back row of the grid, so too did Trevor Ashby. Bond's now made it to 3rd, closing slightly at this stage on Brian Callaghan.
And 7 laps remaining, so there's time.
Yes, 37 Callaghan goes through. And you can see Colin Bond getting closer as they make the run downhill to Honda Corner. Now Cole takes off after the Sierra of Longhurst, and the V8 Commodore of Brian Callaghan as we take Dulux Auto Colour to see whether or not the Brian's Commodore is getting a bit how's your father in the tyres department.
Well, the battle between Bond and Callaghan is going to be important here in regard to prize money for the overall series, because if Callaghan can hold down second spot, he will in fact overhaul Bond and finish second in the series.
I think Cole might be able to snip him the next time up the hill.
Longhurst dropped Callaghan off just a fraction there. Bond closing right up on the tail of the Commodore.
I think Brian's into a bit of defence mode at this stage.
Commodore's getting a bit taily.
Down the inside. Don't expect any favours from Brian. I tell you, he's a pretty tough old campaigner. He's fought to get up to second. He's not going to throw it away. And we'll just watch the grunt now of the CALTEX Sierra as they come onto the straight. Now, Bonnie slips down the inside and might just nail him before they get to the top of the hill, and that's exactly what he's done. Now, has Bond got enough grunt in the CALTEX Sierra to be able to go on and make life difficult for Tony Longhurst? It's been quite a drive off the back of the field.
This is exactly the way they're running on the point score. Longhurst, Bond, Callaghan, that's the way they're running on the track in the final round.
So Colin Bond, CALTEX Sierra, number 4, heads out after Tony Longhurst, who's been setting just a good pace for himself. Not the most pleasant time of the afternoon to be running a touring car into full sunlight at the top of Bitchapave Hill.
Longhurst coming up on car 51. Dennis Rogers.
Let's take a look at the gap back to 4th place. There's Mark GIBBS coming through.
And Kenny Matthews, is it?
Yep. So they've spread themselves out fairly well. There's Mark GIBBS, GIO Insurance sponsored Commodore, number 36. Sponsored by Suttons of Chullora. Very nicely turned out Commodore.
And 3.5 laps left here as we go back to race leader Tony Longhurst, car 25, the Benson and Hedges Ford Sierra entry. Through the right-hander at the left corner. Colin Bond closed up so far but not able to bridge that gap anymore on that last lap. Callaghan falling back into the clutches of Mark GIBBS. No, it's not Mark GIBBS, he's just passed a slower car, my apologies. In fact, it was car 99, Rick Scarf.
So Bondi's having a real try here in the final stages of this race.
Wrestling with the wheel as he heads round Dunlop Loop.
A little bit of correction on that time, down to Sutton's corner.
Time for Longhurst to get serious though. He's speared away a bit from Bond around the back of the circuit. And if the car is now as well balanced as Tony Longhurst was saying to us earlier, then it's going to be in mighty trim by the time we get to Mount Panorama at Bathurst for the Tooheys 1000. Not far away.
Bitchapave Hill yet again. The gap from 1st to 2nd is about the gap from 2nd to 3rd. So Tony Longhurst. Pleased to see Tony having a good run here this weekend. It's been a up and down season for him in the Australian Touring Car Championship.
It's been very frustrating coming off the high of a victory at Bathurst and then expecting to come out and conquer the world in the Australian Touring Car Championship this season. But when they built 2 new cars, they just lost something that the previous car had, and it's taken them all season to get it back. He's convinced he's now finally got it. Not in terms of horsepower and engine capacity, performance, but in terms of just the way the car was set up and balanced. Cars on their last lap. Now, there's the board. So not much standing now between Tony Longhurst and victory in this final race and victory in the Amscar Series for 1989. Colin Bond trying hard, but just not able to close that last couple of car lengths on Longhurst. Brian Callahan still comfortable in third spot. And it looks as though that might be the way they're going to finish.
Yes, great try from Colin Bond. Time has run out though. They're on their last lap, as we've mentioned. Coming down to the lake corner for the final time. And Queenslander Tony Longhurst floats it out of that corner. The lake turn comes up now to Toledo turn for the final time, and the Amscar series for 1989 is going to go to Tony Longhurst in the Benson and Hedges Sierra. Very close finish though, with Colin Bond getting up for second place after starting off the back of the grid, and third going to veteran Brian Callahan. Well, there's Tony. As we said earlier, he's been a man with a smile from ear to ear this weekend. The problems he's had throughout the season, he's been able to track down to some problems of car setup and balance within the car, and I'd say he'd be delighted. Let's recap them for you on the CALTEX race score. Tony Longhurst, the race winner. Colin Bond finishes in second spot in the CALTEX Sierra, and third place going to Brian Callahan in the Commodore. A great finish to the Amscar Touring Car Series at AMAROO Park Raceway. We'll be having a presentation shortly. But of course, back in October of last year, this man, Tony Longhurst, came up in many people's eyes as the surprise winner of the James Hardy, or the Tooheys 1000 I should say. Along with Thomas Mazera, we of course head back to Bathurst, the Australian Television Network, for the second running of the Tooheys 1000 on Sunday, October 1st. Where Tony Longhurst, of course, along with all of the other professional teams, will be out to try and snare victory. Cars are lined up. Gary Wilkinson will be talking with the place getters in the Amscar series shortly. But a superb drive today from Tony Longhurst, and good to see Colin Bond come good late in the afternoon after problems in heat number 1, car finishing in the pits. I guess it gives him a little heart to look at the endurance races. And Brian Callahan, the lone privateer Commodore campaigner.
A frustrating season in many respects for Tony Longhurst, but good way to finish off the series here at AMAROO.
Yeah, it's a bit like last year. We were a bit slow at the beginning of the year, but I think we're going to finish the end of the season very strong.
You had to be pretty strong at the finish. Bondi's come off the rear of the grid, and he was pressing pretty hard there the last couple of laps.
Yeah, he was motoring along, and I was watching him come up, and I thought, well, I better get going, and I was actually trying the last 5 or 6 laps as hard as I could. But the car's going very well.
The trophy is yours, well deserved. Jim Brooks, Executive Director of James Hardy Building Products, to make the presentation to Tony Longhurst.
Thank you very much. James Hardy have done a great job this year with the series, and I'm very pleased to win it. I'm really looking forward to the long distance races with Neville Crichton, Alan Jones, Denny Holm. I think we've got a very strong combination, and we're really after the Tooheys 1000. Thank you.
That's of course our next big telecast. Colin Bond, congratulations, second place in the series. Frustrating year for you too, I guess, so far.
Well, it has been, I guess. We've been doing a lot of development with the new computer, and that we're getting it sorted out, and I must say that the guys done a great job this weekend. We've had a problem with the car, but they finally got it going for the last race.
The trophy from Jim Brooks for second place in
thanks very much.
The James Hardy Building Products Amscar series. And Brian Callahan, come on in for Holden Commodore. Well done. Somebody's got to keep the flag flying.
Yeah, that's right. It's hard work around here, but anyhow, we're pretty happy with third place. I'd just like to thank Larry Perkins for all the help that he's given us, and all the crew.
And Jim Brooks for the trophy.
Yes, and Jim Brooks and James Hardy Building for sponsoring us, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian Callahan. There we are, Tony Longhurst, winner of the James Hardy Building Products Amscar series here at AMAROO Park. Our next big motorsport telecast, of course, the Tooheys 1000 at Bathurst. See you there.